Hey, what's going on? This is Craig, the Natural Medic, and I'm in Lehman Caves in Great Basin National Park, which is the namesake caverns for this area. Actually, it was what started Great Basin National Park before it was a national park, was Lehman Caves National Monument. Taking a cave tour right now. Try to record best that I can. I know it's a little bit harder to see me, but hope you'll come with me as I try to do the highlights of this cave tour. So the first stop, if you can see us, is this grand room here. And at one time it was a speakeasy. It's been used in movie film before, movie filming, and also a number of proms took place in that area. Pretty fascinating history as you come through the cave here. Now, this cave started actually 550 million years ago when this area was under a shallow sea. And then over time, you had water seeping in through cracks and crevices and turned the limestone that's here into a marble and made all these wonderful formations. You have stalactites, stalagmites. You have soda straws. And the most famous formation that you have here is called a shield. I'll try to show you some of these after a while. Matter of fact, we are on the parachute shield tour.
Basically the impact that people have had on it. So how natural is this cave versus how much has it really started to change? And so this pathway is one of many different ones that have been put in here, but unfortunately there has been a lot of damage to the cave to be able to get this trail in here. And it goes back to the rediscovery of the cave in 1885 by Absalom Lehman. And he rediscovered the natural entrance. And he made most of his money off of mining before, but when he discovered this natural entrance, he said, aha, that's how I'm going to make my money. I'm going to sell cave tour tickets. And so there's a clip in the Ely Times, a newspaper from around here, that said they discovered this cave and that the next day they're going to come down here armed with sledgehammers and break their way in. So that the early tourists that would have come in here through the tours would have come along this side. So they wouldn't have taken that way, but they would have come through here. And we call this fat man's misery. Because you'd be crawling on your hands and knees to get through this part of the cave here. So you would have had to crawl up the mountain, down into the natural entrance, make your way to this part of the cave through fat man's misery, and you made it to the lodge room, to the inscription room right here. So to make it a little bit easier, they did put this tunnel in right here called the Panama Canal. And it actually is made up of a bunch of broken cave formations. They essentially had what could be thought of as like a cave graveyard, where there's all these different formations that have been broken, either purposefully or accidentally, to put in this pathway here. And so they had so many broken formations, they're like, what do we do with them? And so when they created this new pathway, they decided to stack them up right there and be able to not necessarily showcase them off, but it is really cool to walk by and be able to see all those pieces there, but to be able to put them somewhere, but keep them in the cave as well. And so yeah, that Panama Canal, pretty unique feature here.
It was built when? It was built when?
We actually don't necessarily know the exact time. What's really interesting here is that there's a couple projects that have been done, and there's really not a good record for it, which is surprising. We think it was done by the Civilian Conservation Corps, maybe about the 40s or 50s or so. They put in the first man-made entrance tunnel in 1939. And they used dynamite for that, so maybe they sometime after that did it. But usually they're really good at keeping records, but unfortunately there's no record really of that one, the work being done on that one there. But
there's lots of letters on the ceiling.
Yes. It felt like it took you through the middle of nowhere to get out here, right? And you were in a nice air-conditioned vehicle. Imagine doing that on horseback or wagon train. You've climbed up to the natural entrance, climbed down in, climbed through fat man's misery, and you want to leave your mark here. And so these early tourists from 1885 to about 1925 would leave their mark in a way that we wouldn't do it today. Nowadays, we would just take our selfie and put it on social media or on our refrigerator or something like that to be able to prove we were here. However, they didn't have that back then. And so they would come down in here and with their lantern using the carbide, they would hold it up and be able to cast their inscription up on this top of the cave as well. And this has the highest concentration of these inscriptions, and that's where this name gets its root from. And usually it's pretty, the ceiling's at a good height to be able, for most of these early tourists, to be able to do that up there. Good observation. As you can see here in this one, at some point when they were putting cement or paint, they tried to cover it up right there. And so there was actually an effort to remove it from this cave. However, there's just so much of it, and really that effort wasn't going to pay off. So for my folks who went into the Gothic Palace, which is the first room of the cave, there's no inscriptions there because we think they were all scrubbed off or painted over as well. So as we go back further, we start to see more of these.
As you heard, a lot of negative impact to the cave from human exploration, including blasting and breaking some of the cave formations to get access into here, and also leaving their mark with the cave graffiti. I thought Ranger Haley did a great job explaining that and saying how things were maybe a little bit different. Back then we didn't think about those things. This area is pretty trippy. It's called the Cypress Swamp. Kind of looks like a cypress swamp from back in East Texas. Crazy. There's some of the shields up there. Very cool. Yeah, interestingly, the ranger was saying that there's other caves that are found in the national park, but none of them are open to the public, is what I understood. Which makes a lot of sense because of the deposition of the mountains, including Wheeler Peak, which we did yesterday. And the other mountains, there's so much mountain. So plenty of places for caves to form. Looks like it might be the parachute shield right here. There's several little shield pieces that are up there. I'm not sure if you can see them, but there's definitely some more up here, which I already talked about. And there's a big one right here about, 16, 20 feet. Hey, it's been a couple of weeks since I went on that cave tour. I'm back at my house here in New Mexico. And I hope you enjoyed the video on the short tour. Tickets are pretty affordable. I didn't get a chance to record a conclusion when I was at the actual site itself, but I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up to let me know that you did. Think about subscribing to the channel if you enjoy content like this. I'll be doing some other videos pretty soon, some tips and tricks and some product reviews, in addition to the follow me type videos. So if you like that sort of thing, until then, watch one of these videos over here. See you on the trail.